Hey everybody, welcome back to the JG Show. I'm in the ring with Rory. Oh wait, we're not in the ring. We're at Georgian Dragon Bar here in Shirko, Shenzhen, SeaWorld. And we're enjoying Tsingtao beer. Here you can get a pint, sponsored by Brewdog, for as little as 35 RMB. Let's do it. So what are we talking about today? We've got to do some updates on boxing. There's a lot of things going on in the world, in the heavyweight division in particular. The last time we had the podcast was when Lopez was Lopez. So sticking just to boxing, what's going on, Rory? What's going on in the world of boxing?
It's all been happening in boxing for a change. I think for the first time this year, we've got nothing but boxing to talk about.
Yes, for the first time, boxing is getting more exciting than MMA, right? Other than, of course, Khabib retiring, which we can get to, and some upcoming fights with that are
lightweight stuff.
We got a few title defenses coming up.
Yeah.
But boxing, what's going on? What's happening?
Well, just this past weekend, we had Usyk versus Chisora. Finally, Usyk's welcome to the heavyweight division.
That was his second heavyweight fight, right?
Yeah, his first challenge. The first one was like an introduction. This one was his first real challenge.
I watched that fight, and I watched it a couple of times, and Usyk was staying very safe, and he was very careful about the power of Derek. Derek would throw punches, and you would see Usyk's body just be relocated from different areas to the ring. After watching that fight, I really wouldn't advise Usyk to be going up against real heavyweights like the big boys.
Did you score the fight?
No. I mean, Usyk by far had the more technical. He was tagging.
I think I had more rounds. I scored him two more to Usyk.
Okay.
Like you say, at least in the first 3 or 4 rounds, he was getting bullied by Derek Chisora.
Yeah.
He was getting pushed. He looked smaller, he looked weaker. And the thing is, Derek Chisora is not a big heavyweight.
Yes.
Derek Chisora he's not considered one of the big heavy, well, he's a heavy hitter, but he's not like, Dillian White's bigger than he is. You're talking about Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury.
Yeah.
Usyk, I can't see him hanging with those guys.
And someone moving like Tyson Fury, even coming in and being able to throw those punches and dodge and weave and slip. Like Derek isn't that. He's not that. He doesn't really have a strong sort of dancing and twinkle toes. He's more just big, heavy hits, brute strength. Yeah,
that's the thing. I mean, but for likability factor, Usyk's my favourite heavyweight fighter now.
Yeah. I like the way he's a bit of a character outside the ring as well.
He's funny, man.
He's
good.
What do they say? How you feeling? I feel. I'm very feel.
I'm very feel.
Yeah, he's a funny guy. Yeah.
But I mean, the question is like, where does he go next? I mean, from him personally, like he's an Olympian, he unified the cruiserweight division. You know, that means he had all 4 belts in the cruiserweight division, and now he's moved up. Now, the next step for him is he's now WBO mandatory challenger to Anthony Joshua's belt.
Okay.
So if I was him, he doesn't have to prove anything to anyone. He doesn't get me. I'm sure he would love to see Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury for the unified belts, the same as the rest of us. But in his mind, he's on the Usyk story.
Yes.
He's got his own thing. He wants to be world champion.
Yes, yeah.
So he's already called out Anthony Joshua that night. Do you know Anthony Joshua was there?
Really? He already called him out?
Yeah, he walked after he beat Chisora. He walked over to the ring and he just started going, "Anthony, I'm coming for you, Anthony."
Really? Okay. So he's bold, huh? He's really bold.
Yeah, so I reckon we'll see Joshua, assuming that Fury and Joshua get through their fights in December, which we'll get to. I reckon Joshua's going to have to vacate the WBO so that Usyk can fight the next challenger.
Okay.
So, but Fury, Joshua, we want to see anyway. I don't really care if it's for the unified belts. It should be. It would be a bigger fight, but I would see them for no belts at this point. I just want to see Fury fight Joshua. So, I reckon what happens is Usyk will fight for the WBO early next year.
Okay.
Maybe we've got Daniel Dubois versus Joe Joyce. These are 2 up-and-coming heavyweights.
That's a big one coming, yeah.
So for the next 3 or 4 years in the heavyweight division, when Tyson Fury starts thinking about retirement and hanging it up, we've got other guys coming through called Daniel Dubois and Joe Joyce. So I'd recommend catching that fight next week.
Okay. Is that next week?
Next month, I think. But do you know Daniel Dubois?
Dubois, yeah.
He fought Usyk.
Yes.
In the Muhammad Ali Championship.
Okay.
He looked good as well. Usyk won, obviously.
Yeah, I've heard about this fight. I haven't done enough research on both these guys to kind of get to become a fan of either one to see who would win.
Yeah, they're the future. You'll hear their name. If Daniel Dubois puts on a show, which he probably should, then he could be looking at a challenging spot next year, maybe against Usyk.
Okay, nice.
Should be good.
So what about Joshua? Doesn't he have a fight? Doesn't he have a
Joshua's fighting Pulev
Pulev?
at Wembley Stadium, December 8th, I believe it is.
Okay.
And he has to get through Pulev, but Pulev's not a joke. He's a big heavyweight, he's a proper heavyweight, and I reckon he's going to cause Joshua problems. I've got a bad feeling about the Joshua.
Got a bad feeling about this.
Yeah.
So if he wins and does take his belt, then what? He would take all his belts then.
Joshua has 3 belts right now. Tyson Fury has 1. Tyson Fury's got the big green and gold WBC belt, and Joshua's got the IBF, WBO, the rest of them.
Yes.
So if he loses to Pulev's now heavyweight champion of the world in those divisions. But I think Joshua probably still fights Fury. I don't know. I don't know what happens if Pulev beats Joshua. It messes everything up. We need Joshua to beat Pulev, Tyson Fury to beat this guy he's fighting.
Who's this guy he's fighting? Who's he?
He's called Ajit Kabayel.
Ajit Kabayel.
Now,
is he the German guy that already?
He's German, Kurdish.
Okay.
But I was looking at his record. I don't know who he is personally, but I was looking at his record. The guy is 6'3", 28 years old, Kurdish guy who's undefeated. He doesn't sound like a joke. So we'll see him in December, hopefully against Fury.
These guys always come out of the woodwork, you know? You always focus on like the top 5 fighters, but then anytime that they do sort of warm-up fights or mandatories or anything, there's always guys that come out and you're like, wait, who is this guy? And then you start, I mean, it is still there's a lot of pros around, right? Do you remember Otto, the Swedish guy?
The guy that bust up
that
Tyson
burst his,
same thing. He was roughly the same age, roughly the same record. And he bust Tyson open bad.
Yeah, that fight was not a washover. It was very, very difficult for him to finish that fight.
Referee probably should have stopped it.
Yeah. See that
kind of cut.
And that was just some guy that they thought, oh, let's just put, before the Dante rematch.
Was it Otto Wallen?
Otto Wallen. Remember his boxing coach is some New York guy. Some guy.
Yeah, I think so.
That actually Luca, our buddy, is friends with. That was interesting, right? So this guy should be a fight I'm keen to see.
Yeah, we'll see. And actually that'll be in England. Personally, I think they're missing a massive opportunity. So White was due to meet Povetkin for the second time on November 21st. Povetkin has COVID, so he's out until at least January, February next year.
Okay.
And Dillian White is looking for a fight. Tyson Fury is in England. He's looking for a fight. Dillian White was mandatory challenger for the WBC for 1,000 days.
Yes.
Why don't we square off Dillian White and Tyson Fury?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Why wasn't that happening, or is that happening? It's just something that got
Ed,
thrown out but then brushed under the table.
It's way too big a risk for Tyson Fury.
Okay.
I mean, if he goes up against Dillian White, that's a massive fight. The focus, I think, is just Joshua Fury for next year.
Okay.
But you wouldn't catch that in the UFC.
Yeah, Povetkin also he's COVID, right? So now White is still waiting for somebody else. Tyson.
I think White's going to wait until Povetkin comes back in January and fight him.
Okay.
But
because Povetkin did put a heavy knockout on him, right?
Yeah, I mean White was winning, but that was a savage knockout.
Yeah.
In Eddie Hearn's back garden. One guy said that he would take White. Derek Chisora.
Okay, Derek Chisora, who just lost against Usyk. Yeah, I mean, these guys just want to fight.
I'll take him. That if he fought White, that would be the biggest turnaround in pay-per-view boxing history.
Yeah.
Two pay-per-views back to back.
That's right. Yeah. 2 guys that lost and meet up. Yeah. That'd be pretty. Yeah. That'd be pretty.
So we'll see. I mean, the guys, two guys that aren't really being spoken about right now that I don't really know what's going on with. One, Deontay fucking Wilder. Did you see the latest?
He accused his coach of spiking his drink.
So his coach now works for Tyson Fury. And that's apparently. And now he was saying that Tyson Fury's gloves were weighted.
Okay, yeah,
his gloves were weighted.
That's right. He had like something was holding in his hand, right?
Yeah, something like that. And then he said his suit was too heavy. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, and then he said that he spiked his drink. That his coach actually he put something in his drink. Spiked his water. Yeah.
So there's Deontay Wilder, and also what's going on with Andy Ruiz?
Andy Ruiz has just disappeared as well.
Andy Ruiz needs to come back and fight someone like Usyk or Joseph Parker.
Yeah.
Or Deontay Wilder. Imagine Andy Ruiz versus Deontay Wilder.
Yes.
I would love to see Andy Ruiz kick fuck out of Deontay Wilder.
Yeah, that would be good, right? These sort of matchups. I mean, why aren't we in charge of the promoters for these kind of guys?
Right. Imagine trying to manage Deontay Wilder.
Yeah, I think Deontay Wilder just has gone into a very dark place.
Yeah.
Really dark place.
And that was his first loss, and it was bad. It was an embarrassing loss. I reckon you're right. I reckon he just went up inside his shell and he's just...
Yeah, he just doesn't want to talk to anybody, and he was just so probably visualized winning so much so that just he couldn't handle the disappointment. He really, I mean, I hope he comes back, adds more flavor to the heavyweight division, especially now with Usyk coming in. And obviously White, still being
up in there.
Yeah, is still available as well. Provokin, when he finally gets COVID free, he's also an interesting person to add to the mix.
It's nice to have 5 or 6 top heavyweights. I mean, Anthony Joshua and Fury are by far the top, but it's nice to have other people to talk about for the first time in years. It's an active division, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, and this is good. It seems like there was, with this little layoff with COVID, now promoters are like, we want to get back, we're competing now with numbers from Dana White, right? With UFC, we want to bring these numbers back.
So Dana White's getting into boxing.
Yeah, what was he saying there? It seems like he's doing something.
Clarissa Shields versus, I can't remember. But I think what he's trying to do is he's trying to set up Clarissa Shields versus Amanda Nunes.
Okay.
I think that's the plan.
Okay. He's good, because he wants to do crossovers, right?
Yeah.
He wants to get some big title fights, like the Conor McGregor Floyd Mayweather. He wants to do this again, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Because this really boosted the valuation of the brand.
Yeah.
So Nunes going boxing would be interesting, yeah.
I don't know. Nunes just does what she does, doesn't it? Like, Nunes is untouchable.
Yeah, but I don't want to see like Khabib do anything. Like there was some ideas of Khabib, crossing over
for Floyd.
Yeah,
that's mental.
That's it's good if you choose someone.
I liked one idea. They were saying, how can they match Floyd Mayweather with Khabib?
Khabib, yeah.
And I had one good idea. Like if it's just boxing, Mayweather wins.
Yeah.
If it's just UFC, MMA, Khabib wins. But what if you done 10 rounds? 9 rounds are boxing. The last round is MMA.
Yes.
So Khabib has to last for 9 rounds, and Mayweather's got 9 rounns to knock him out. If he doesn't knock him out, then they lock that fucking cage, and Khabib just fucking goes in.
Just runs at him. Can you imagine? That's like, it's funny when you say it, but I think the world is going that way. I think the world is going that way when it comes to combat entertainment. There's so much of this mixing and matching.
Nothing's exciting anymore unless it's like a new.
It's like a new spin, right?
No one's excited unless it's like a new freak show.
Yeah, because we've got also these YouTubers coming in as well, and they're really. I mean, some of them are crossing over to boxing. We're going to see some crossover to UFC, and it's all going to get mixed up. It's going to be interesting.
On the Mike Tyson versus Jones Jr. card, there's some boxing versus MMA on that.
Yeah.
I forget. I think. Remember.
We have to look up that a bit more. See what kind of record the MMA guy has versus the guy that's boxing.
I think
see how did they make this matchup? How's it fair?
Beto Jack. How do you say his name? The guy in Mayweather's camp.
Beto, I don't know.
Jack. He's fighting an MMA guy, I think.
Okay.
But anyway,
Jake Paul too he's also called out Conor McGregor.
I'm sure he has.
So to legitimize himself as a boxer.
He called out Floyd Mayweather.
Floyd Mayweather.
And this actually got some fucking traction online. Don't forget, Jake Paul's professional record is 0-1.
0-1, yeah. And he wants to fight the best in the world.
Arguably one of the greatest ever. But anyway, all that fucking nonsense aside, this past weekend we had Usyk Chisora, but we also had, none of you guys are going to know who he is, but he's called Devin Haney, who fought Gamboa.
Okay.
Now, believe it or not, Devin Haney is the WBC lightweight champion.
So not the franchise champion, the champion.
So the weekend before, when Lomachenko fought Lopez, it was billed as the undisputed lightweight champion.
Okay.
All of the belts on the line, all to play for, yeah? That was bollocks. That wasn't true.
It wasn't true.
The WBC belt was not the championship belt. It was the franchise champion belt.
Okay.
Which, when Lomachenko was WBC champion, they offered him a franchise champion, which meant that he would be, it didn't have to do mandatories. He would always be franchise champion. This title wasn't supposed to be able to
change. The best belt. You get the belt for your life, right? Yeah. You get basically the belt.
Do you know
forever.
That when you retire as franchise champion, you can come out of retirement and challenge directly any champion from any weight division.
Just because.
Just because, yeah.
We're gonna do a episode on the belts of boxing.
We're gonna try.
That's gonna be coming up, but
we're gonna try.
You get you sort of get a small idea of how crazy the whole system is in boxing with the belts. Because so Haney, this guy is actually the WBC champion.
When Lomachenko became the franchise champion, you can't hold the actual WBC belt at the same time.
You only can pick one.
So he became franchise champion naturally.
Okay.
So then Devin Haney picked up the WBC belt, and he's defended that 2 or 3 times now.
Okay, all right. So,
I mean, Devin
what
Haney,
would make sense is he fights Lopez then.
Devin Haney this past weekend looked shit. He looked terrible. So Lopez, I mean, the franchise champion is above this belt, but the actual belt is held by Devin Haney, and he's the lightweight champion.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So Lopez would make light work of him, and it would unify the division, but I think Lopez is moving up. But that
So
said,
Lopez is out, is going to leave.
he's going to move up, I think.
Because now, like we were saying this before, he has a franchise belt. So if people fight him and that franchise belt moves, like it did with Loma, you have 2 WBC belts moving
At the same time.
at the same time.
But the franchise champion belt was never supposed to change hands. The only reason the WBC sanctioned that for that fight is to make it an undisputed fight.
Yeah, to get the
The
interest.
franchise champion can't change hands because then, like John says, you have 2 different belts in the same division for the same.
But if he
fight.
goes up in weight, then the belt then changes. But then there is another belt already at that
At a
weight.
division,
Ah, that's so tricky, right?
it's fucked.
Whoever's at boxing, you got to figure this shit out.
It's WBC keeps making belts. WBC, Mike Tyson versus Jones Jr. is an exhibition fight between 2
yes, I've heard of this.
retired fighters.
I've heard of this.
And the WBC just made it for a fucking belt.
They created a belt.
They created the WBC Black Lives Matter Frontline Battle Belt.
Really?
Yeah.
Black, they call it a BLM belt.
On the WBC, they've got Frontline Battle Black Lives Matter WBC Championship.
They just are making stuff up. It's just to get media attention.
So 2 retired fighters fighting an exhibition matches now for a title.
I don't feel so bad now with my brand WCFN, how I just make up belts. But I try to at least have some kind of system with it, right? If I create, now I feel like
you've got 1 belt per division.
Oh yeah,
You know what I mean? You've got 1 belt.
You need
make
to have
up
1
belts.
belt per division, and make it coveted, because if you create a belt, it doesn't become special anymore. People are like, oh, like what did UFC create? They created the baddest motherfucker belt, right?
Yeah, and then, to be honest, they've honoured that because that can't change hands.
Yeah,
Like,
they've given that's a gift that's gone.
Usman fought Masvidal, beat Masvidal, didn't get the belt.
Yes, that's right.
So
yeah.
that was a one-time thing.
And
that was-
Usman wanted that belt though. He was asking for it. He was like, no, because Dana White knows if I gotta control this, it's a gift. You're the baddest
One fight.
motherfucker. Great, done.
That's
Go
it.
hang it up on your wall. Finished. Nobody talk about this anymore. If I decide to bring it out, we will. But but with boxing, they're like, yeah, do it. Let's swap this. Let's add another one. Let's add this one. And now let's get this one.
Every single fight, every weekend, is for a title.
It's for a title. Yeah, they're making up time.
Every weekend we go to the pub, it's always for a title.
There's always a belt, and everyone's like, "Yeah, it's my dream to be the world champion." Everyone's a fucking world champion now.
I mean, if you just count, what was it, the 4 governing bodies, and you count the weight divisions across boxing, there's 68 world champions.
68.
67,
so
68.
all the federations.
Only the 4 federations.
Only the 4 federations.
we
So
recognise.
IBF, WBO, WBA, WBC,
Yeah.
right? So all of them, all their weight. So that's 68.
I think it's, if I remember, it's 68 world champions. And that being said, that's only the federations. You still have the British champion, the European champion, the super champions, the
Yes.
American champion.
Yeah, the Commonwealth
champion.
Yeah, the European the Ireland champion. All yeah.
There's so many fucking belts.
Just keeps going. The Asia, the China champion.
We'll try and figure it out, and we'll do a podcast on it.
The only belts that count are the world belts.
The
right?
only one that really counts, the one that everyone wants, is the WBC. The big green and gold belt.
WBC,
The WBC
yeah.
is the historical.
The World Boxing Association. It's got to have world on it.
I think they all have one on it.
Or G, global. Right?
International Boxing Federation.
Or international. Yeah, it's got to be world or
What
international.
about UFC does universal boxing?
Yeah. If it isn't for the world, then what? It's kind of like, okay, we don't need to talk about that.
Nah.
You don't necessarily. No one tunes in. No one says, hey, you know what? This guy's a world champion. Oh wait, are you sure? Oh no, he was a British champion. Okay,
British.
well, he was a British champion.
He's a British world champion.
Everyone just throws out world champion, you know. And but you know, like in China too, a lot of these guys say, "Oh, I'm a champion." I'm like, "No, you're a China champion."
Yeah.
A China, that means you probably fought in this, you know, the province of Guangdong, 4 guys, and you were the best of 4, so they gave you China champion. Like it.
What about talking
Even
about
that
Chinese
we can't
champions?
really regulate.
I meant to ask you about what about that? Is it Zhang, the heavyweight? He fought this weekend.
Yeah, this guy named Zhilei Zhang.
Zhang, yeah.
Right? He's this heavyweight guy that apparently he lives in the US. And man, he did this knockout. He did a thing where he threw a right, And the guy like got knocked out. He went to the other side of the ring and fell down.
He fought Joshua at the Olympics.
He fought Joshua at the Olympics.
Yeah,
yes.
and I think it was the semi-final.
And he beat Joshua.
Did he?
He beat him. That's why
Joshua got gold though. So how did?
No, he beat him. He beat him. This is a very good question. And it was interesting because that you mentioned this, because I was like, what? How does this make any sense? But yes, apparently he beat him. And the story is, the sexy story is that Joshua fights him again.
The sexy story.
And yeah, reclaims this title. Oh, I have to find it. But I think the story is he did beat him.
I thought he must have lost though, because if Joshua got the gold, I don't know about the system. But yeah, anyway, this guy Zhang fought Joshua at the Olympics.
We need to, yeah. And they're saying that this might be like a fight in, yeah. So it says, okay, so Joshua beat Zhang. Okay, he beat Zhang. So Zhang hopes for a rematch.
Yeah.
That's where the magic is the promotion is Zhang saying, hey Joshua, let's fight again. You beat me in the Olympics, now I want to.
In Beijing at the Bird's Nest.
Yes, see, that would be an interesting fight.
Yeah.
And if that could happen in China, that'd be great, right? We'd have Joshua come over to, I mean, and it's the big Eddie Hearn he's the manager of both.
He manages Zhang.
He manages Zhang as well.
His Matchroom or
his it's Matchroom, right? Isn't that under Zhang's? Isn't that under his thing?
I don't know anything about it, man. I was going to ask you.
Yeah, I think he's managed by. I think I screenshot it somewhere. It's like Eddie Hearn's Matchroom.
Yeah.
So Eddie Hearn can kind of create this and make sure that
I don't really give a shit about the Giants wanting to get Joshua in a fight over here.
Yeah, Joshua, go straight to Beijing, man. That'd be so good, huh?
But yeah, I was listening to a podcast earlier. Next year's going to be such a big year for the heavyweights. Like Tyson Fury, obviously your favourite fighter.
Yep.
I reckon he's going to hang out next year.
You think he's going to retire?
If he beats Joshua next year, what's he going to do? Wait for Daniel Dubois and stuff to get big and fight them?
Yeah. I mean, that could be his final fight. That'd probably be where he'd call it.
If he beats Joshua and finishes it, and he finishes undefeated, like, what else has he got to prove?
Yes.
But I reckon next year's going to be a massive change. I reckon that's going to be the end of this era. If we can get Joshua and Fury and tie that off,
yes,
that'll end this era that we've had for the past.
That's right. That's the fight I want to see live, is that main fight. And it's to the point now that even if Joshua does lose, probably if Joshua loses, he'll end up rematching the guy he lost against and win the belt anyway. So let's just try to get that belt going. I just want to get that fight going. Joshua and Fury, that'll be the final one. I think
they're signing 2 fights.
Saying 2 more.
They're signing for 2 fights at the same time. So the first fight's going to be a 50-50 split.
Yes.
And the second fight will be a 60-40 split for whoever wins the first fight.
Okay.
Location, we don't know, but it's probably going to be Middle East.
Middle East,
because the Middle East and places like this can offer 100 million for a fight. Like, we'll give you $100 million, like, just to take this fight. The UK and places like that can't match that. They don't have the budget for it. Mm-hmm. The UK makes money by selling thousands of tickets at Wembley Stadium.
That's it.
So if they can't sell tickets because of COVID, there's no fucking money to make.
Then there's no money
to make. Box office. So I reckon the first fight will be in the Middle East somewhere, probably the same place as Joshua Ruiz too. Mm-hmm. And the second fight, hopefully, if COVID's finished, we'll get the rematch in Wembley.
Wembley Stadium.
And we'll be there.
And that's the one we'll be. All right. Hope you all enjoyed this recap of all the magic that's happening in the world of boxing. Thanks, Rory, for keeping us up to date. Probably our next one will be after one of these key fights has happened. Probably December with the Roy Jones Jr. and the exhibition fight with Mike Tyson. Yes. We'll do one probably right before that.
2 weeks.
2 weeks. That's 2 weeks time. Yeah, November 28th. And then in December, we got Joshua Pulev.
Yeah.
That's the key. Those two are the key. And then that'll be the year, and then we'll see what comes next year.
Cool.
All right, everyone, take it easy. We're signing off. Peace.
Cheers.